You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. LSU had its final fall camp workout on Saturday, scrimmage in Tiger Stadium. And also last week, we talked about it a bit here on the show, LSU on their official social media put out a video of Corey Webster talking to the current DBs. Coach Robert Steeples introduced Corey to the guys, and he gave him a speech. It took about a 2-minute clip and put it up there. And for those that don't know, man, I kind of have to remind people this sometimes too, man, because it's been 20 years since 03. Yeah. But Corey Webster came to LSU as a quarterback at St. James, came here as a receiver, switches to defensive back, becomes a 2-time first-team All-American, wins a national championship in 03, is a second-round pick of the Giants, wins 2 Super Bowls. Brett Favre's last pass ever with the Packers was intercepted by Corey Webster at Lambeau Field. Guy plays 9 NFL seasons and now doing great stuff in our community here. Corey's in studio. Always good to see you, man. Thank you for the time. How are you?
Yep, likewise, I'm great. How you been?
I'm doing awesome, man. Hey, I want to go back, if we could, to the video that they posted last week. How did that all come about? Did Robert Steeples ever reach out to you to come out, or you just went to practice?
Just went to practice. I think it was the day before they had an on-field practice. Went to practice the day before because I wanted my little guys, my 6th grader and my 3rd grader, Colin and Ren, to get a chance to experience that. The older kid had, and they hadn't experienced that. So just brought them to practice. Through practice, Coach Kelly said he wanted to meet me at the end, and had a good meeting with him. And then my little cousin, who is Kyle Parker, the receiver.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So he didn't practice that day. So really and truly just happened organically. He didn't practice, so I'll say, when you going to be back? You know what I mean? So that's really how the second practice of me attending came about.
Man, it's so interesting because, man, like, if it's Kyle, if it's Jalen Brown, Shelton Sampson, that's just the freshman. Kai Preon. Breaking news, LSU's got good receivers.
Facts.
I mean, oh my, like that room is so incredibly talented right now. What did so you're at practice, did Brian Kelly or did Robert Steeples ask you to talk to the guys?
So after the first practice, I think I met Steeples, and he was like, hey, if you're going to be around, come to the next practice. Again, I was already attending because I wanted to see Kyle practice. He hadn't practiced. He was sitting out. So I'm like, cool. He was like, give me some feedback on the DBs if you can come out. So I kind of shadowed those guys, and I thought it'd be great to shadow those guys because I have a chance to see Kyle Parker and Preon. Kai Preon? Preon.
Yeah.
Preon. He played down with the Redskins. His grandfather started that league. I started Little League football with Preon.
No way.
He also is a St. James guy, too.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to see those guys.
The River Parish's guys, man.
We deep.
There's no doubt about that, man. So they're churning them through.
Yeah. So I was, of course, Steve was asked for that, and then I didn't know that was going to happen. That just happened organically. And then once he said, hey, man, I had somebody shadowing you guys around, and I want him to, introduce him, and he's asked me if I wanted to give some feedback. And then once I started talking, that's when the cameras came in and they caught that 2-minute clip.
So we all saw the 2-minute clip, but give me your thoughts just as a guy who obviously played at this level, played at the NFL. Like, what did you see from LSU's DBs?
Well, the first thing I said, the uphill battle is the learning curve because, so many new guys, it's not a lot of guys that stayed over from last year. So the turnover is big, now with the transfer portal and things of that nature. So what I see is no different than any class of DBs. They have a lot of talented guys there, a lot of guys that, show some great potentials and things of that nature. Now, I know potential is another big word to say we haven't done nothing yet, but it's just like in a DB class. We just need them to be hungry, willing to gel together and kind of speed up that learning curve. And I think the sky's the limit with those guys as well.
C-Web, how quickly can that happen? Like, you talk about speeding up the learning curve, and maybe I'll put it to you this way. So something that the audience knows that we've talked about a lot here. So early in camp, the media got to go, and we got to watch like one-on-one drills, right? So it was receivers, tight ends, backs, whatever, against DBs, and man, the pass catchers were just dusting them. I mean, it was heavy wins by the offense. Well, I mean, you were at the scrimmage on Saturday. The defense, Zy Alexander comes up with a big 3rd down stop. I mean, Malik Neighbors only had 1 catch out of 4 targets. He had a nice strip on Mason Taylor. So I'm looking at it going, okay, if they caught up, is it in 3 weeks' time, could they make that much progress? Like, how does that learning curve go?
Yeah, most definitely. It's dependent upon each individual and it's dependent upon the group. Like if those guys want to spend extra time watching film, which I suggest that everybody do, whether you're playing, DB or not. But if you can get in outside of the coaches being in the locker room and in the film study room and learn what each other knows and build that bond amongst each other, because again, everybody hadn't been here. So that's what it's about. It's about learning the brother to the right or to your left, what they have going on, how they play, what's their gyration, what's their movements. And I think that can be speed up, like I just said, depending upon them.
One of the other things that you said in that clip that I thought was so interesting is, and I'm paraphrasing, but you said something like no wasted time. Yeah. Like even if it's, special teams, like get off to the side and work on your footwork and stuff. Where did you learn that? Like, did coaches tell you to do that? Was it veterans that showed you that? Yeah.
I'll be totally honest with you. I know this name don't like to get thrown around a lot.
No.
Saban was my coach. So It was a no wasted time, attention to detail to the minute. So we had to run from one drill to the next, So, he preached that, And then people like Kirby Smart was my DB coach, So we had no time to waste as far as DBs because those individuals in our meet rooms every day breaking down the footage and the films like that. But what I did was I just kept taking it to the next level. So inside of the punt return drill, you have cornerbacks working together. That is a great opportunity, not just on the side, outside of the drill, when you're holding up the gunner that's going to run down there and rush the punt returner. That's a great time to utilize that time to get your footwork right, get your hands on, because it's the same thing that you're going to use as your position. So use that time and utilize it wisely.
Did you have veterans that put a good example out for you?
I'll be perfectly honest. No, we didn't.
So you were like, but that's a good. I'm glad you said it that way, Corey, because when I think of DBU, right, I think of it starting with you and Travis Daniels.
That's a fact.
That's where it started. So like you set the example, you and Travis set the example for the wave that came next, and then it just continued carrying on.
And when I said that, I wasn't only speaking about college. I also was speaking about the professional level as far as having veterans. We didn't have that there when I got there. Now, I'm not going to lie, on the professional level, we got guys in our meet room like Sam Madison and R. Dub McQuarter, but they came later, 2 or 3 years later, right? But there was veteran that bought into us and gave us that. At the college level, I was new to the position, so I'm not trying to throw none of the LSU guys under the bus, It was, but honestly, they inspired what we wanted to do. So because of the actions, I'm gonna keep it nameless and leave out a lot of details to the story in the DB group. Because of the actions of the guys that came before us, we wanted to have a close-knit group, and we wanted to have a group that helped the next generation of DBs come behind us. That was a conscious thought between myself and Travis Daniels, particularly because he came the year after me, and he probably wouldn't have came if we wasn't recruiting him.
Yeah. But it is so. And I want to talk to you a little bit also about 03. We talked about that, so we'll do that in the next segment because that was still my favorite. Like 03 is still my favorite team. We'll talk about that in a minute though. But for the point at hand, from what you saw with LSU being out there this past Saturday in the scrimmage, let me ask you another big picture. Like if I asked you, what were your biggest observations from the scrimmage on Saturday? What would you say?
And I want to tell the fans this too. 1-on-1s and 7-on-7, that's mostly an offensive drill. I'm not trying to give the defense any excuses at all. Because they can be better in that moment. But when you put the pads on and you put a defensive lineman out there, it's a little different throwing that ball on air than it is throwing it with those guys rushing at you and being in the way. So I wanted to put that out there too.
Brian Kelly said the same thing, and so we were all like, "All right, is he just flubbing, or is that?" But then you saw it on Saturday. It was like, "Okay, all right." No, Summer, so go ahead.
Yeah, so just seeing guys, if I'm not mistaken, your question is how they gelling. What do I see out there as my observation?
What did you see on like what stood out to you watching the scrimmage on Saturday?
Just them being up for the challenge, right? Because we have such a good, wide receiver group, right? So just them being up for the challenge to go challenge those guys. Don't just take second fiddle to those guys. You challenging those guys and competing against them is only going to make you better. But with the D-line, we got Savion, another St. James,
yeah, man,
right?
It looks good.
So D-line looks really good. Saw a lot of plays being made there. Linebackers are looking well, and I think the back end is going to come along as well as those guys get to know each other. But I just saw some guys out there that was willing to make plays, willing to compete. I think they made a couple of MEs or missed opportunities early on in practice, but they finished well, so that was good.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.